Hello guys, Dan here, welcome back to the channel. In this pretty long video, I just wanna start Christmas mood a little earlier, and I will show you how to paint this fat Yuan Yuan Santa Claus limited edition model. I divided the video in 5 segments, so you will find the timestamps in the description section down below if you wanna just pick up the parts that you wanna see. But let's start from beginning and I will show you how I paint each of the parts of this model. I kept all the parts separately, like the body, just the base, those presents and the motorcycle, and I primed everything with the black, just two very thin layers of the black undercoat. I will use mostly traditional methods while painting this model, so I will apply first the base colors, then I will wash the whole miniature, and then I will approach with the highlights. For the first color I pick up Mephiston Red, and this will be used to paint his cloth, actually his jacket, his Santa Claus hat, and a little of those armors that he have on his legs. All the paints that I'm going to use today, I will use them from my wet palette, so each of those paints will be added on wet palette and mixed with a few drops of water so they have a good flow. If you're interested in all the paints that are going to be used today, they'll be linked in the description down below. For his leather shirt I will use a Cork Brown, and he have also a few leather straps on the back of his jacket, so I will cover this in two very thin coats with this paint. This paint is slightly transparent and we are painting over black undercoat, so this is needed to be applied in two very thin coats. Just to be sure, wait for the first coat to completely dry before you start applying the second one. We will do same on the skin. I will use Bugman's Glow, and I will paint his arm and the skin on his face with the two very thin coats. For all the leather straps on this model, I will use a chocolate brown. So he have a lot of leather straps around his chest, he have his belt and some leather straps around the legs. And I will also use this paint to paint the seat of the motorcycle, but I will come back to that a little later. And for all the white accessories that he have, we will use the Ulthuan Grey. There is a few armor panels on the legs, which you will have to paint in 2 or 3 very thin coats to have a good coverage. And he have 2 LEDs on each leg, so I will just paint this with this color to start off, and then I will repaint it with the yellow later, but it will be easier to go over this with the yellow than go over it while they're black. We have few more details left to paint, so now I will paint his pants and these armor panels on his legs. I will use flat blue, and I will just cover everything with the one very thin coats. Actually, this paint have a really good coverage, so one thin coat was enough to have a satisfying tone of color. And the last base color that we need to apply is to paint his shoulder blade and noodle box. I will use Averland Sunset, and this color is pretty good, so two very thin coats were enough to have a good coverage. Just try to cover all the black parts so you don't see anything black under it actually. I will wash the whole miniature with a mix of dark tone and Quickshade washing medium. I will mix this 50-50 mix, and then I will be really generous and cover the whole miniature with this. I will just try in the end to collect all the poolings from the flat armor areas or from some parts of the skin, but mostly I will leave the wash where it is. And then I will give it a good like 20 minutes to half an hour to properly dry before I continue with the highlights. Now I will start highlighting this model. My methods when I highlight is that I pick up the lighter color and I cover the 90% of the area that was painted before, but leaving all the recesses intact. And then I pick up my final highlight and I just highlight the most raised areas. So this will be done on the most parts of this model. So I will start off with the skin and pick up a Cadian Fleshtone, and then I will repaint most part of the skin while leaving only the recesses between the muscles and the recesses on the face. And after I'm finished with that, I will take a Kislev Flesh, and this will be done only as a final highlight on the most raised areas on the muscles. And when you go to do the face, you will paint like a forehead, nose, lips, and ears with this paint. Now we will move on the red armor panels and the jacket. So we will use the Evil Sun Scarlet, and for the armor panels that he have on his legs, you will just repaint all the surface. Just don't go on the sides inside the recesses, but on the tops you can repaint everything. And when it comes to the cloth items, you will repaint the raised areas and the folds, just the top of the folds. The side of the folds and the inside of the folds, just leave them be as your shadows. You will do the same on the jacket. And as I said before, I will use a lighter color as my second highlight. So in this case, I will use Orange Fire. And I will just do the edge highlight on these armor panels on the legs, while on the head and on the jacket I will just highlight the edges and the raised folds. For all the blue parts, I will use light sea blue. So for the armor panels on the legs and the arm, I will repaint them almost totally with this color. I just won't go inside the recesses. I will try to leave those nice black lines as my shadows. And when I go on the pants, it will be the same principle as I did when I was painting the red clothes. So just the top area of the folds, the top area of the clothes, and you probably notice like the half of these pants on his back, you won't be able to see it actually because he's sitting on it. But anyway, I actually like to paint the whole model, so I just repainted everything. and this color is really good, so one thin coat was enough to have a decent coverage, and I was happy after it, so I didn't need it to go a second time. For his sunglasses, you just go around and highlight only the edges, so don't go inside or the middle of the lenses. And to finalize the highlights, I will use sky blue, and for the legs and those armor panels on his feet and on his hand, it will be done only as edge highlight. So try to use the side of your brush or the tip whenever is that possible, and try to draw very thin lines. When you go on the pants, just the top of the folds, and that will be it. You don't need to do anything else. It will look really nice. Now for the white armor panels, I will go back to the Ulthuan Grey because wash really desaturated it and make it really dark. But I will just go in one or two very thin coats just to bring them back to their like off-white color. But I will try to avoid painting inside the recesses where the wash settled, so I wanna keep that as my shadow. And now there is a few details that needs to be done with the white. So the first part that I'm going to do is to highlight the white armor panels on his legs. I will do this as an edge highlight, so I will just draw a few white lines. I don't think this is very noticeable on the camera, but on the real life you will be able to see the difference. As well, I will use this to highlight his beard and these details on his jacket. And while I still have the white, I will use this color just to do the edge highlight on his pistol and the grenades that he's carrying on his chest. This is a very light edge highlight, so just go precisely using the tip of your brush or the side, wherever is that possible, and just highlight the few sharpest edges on these details. You don't need to highlight all of them because most of them are concealed and you won't be able actually to see them properly, but more you do, the model will look prettier. For the latter, I will use the Skrag Brown, and I will just stipple it on the sides or on the edges of these letters just to create like a worn leather effect. So you can go on the different direction, stipple the dots, stipple the thin lines, and this will be enough for the model to look nice. Now it's time to finish off noodles. I will pick up Yriel Yellow first, and then I will repaint the noodle box, the shoulder pad, and I will do like a slight edge dry brush on the noodles. This color is pretty transparent, it was not actually that good, so I have to go in 2 or 3 very thin coats to have a good coverage, even with the yellow base coat. So if you have any other yellow, I would advise to use it, but if you don't have, like Yriel Yellow will do the job. And then I will use the Flash Gitz Yellow as my final highlight. So this will be done only on the edges of the box and on the noodles on the top. And to do little details and all those art on the box, I just use the Evil Sun Scarlet, and and my most pointy brush, and I just draw little details. I tried to copy the art from the box, so it was just little waves here and there and little triangles, and from the distance it actually looks really nice. And the last thing that I'm going to do on Yuan Yuan is to paint these LEDs on the legs and on the arm. So first thing, I will just try to cover the top area with the orange fire, but I will cover, like, let's say 80% of the area, and then I will pick up Flash Gitz Yellow and repaint the middle just to make a little bigger dot in the middle. And that's all for Yuan Yuan. So let's move forward and try to do base next. When I say base, I mean this spilled beer and the fire trail. So as I showed you before, I primed it black, and now I will pick up a flat yellow and I will just repaint the whole base with this paint. It's pretty transparent when you go over the black primer, so you have to do it in 2 or 3 very thin coats. But even if it's not perfect at that time, don't worry about it, because we will wash it and the wash will cover it. Then to move on, we will pick up orange fire, and I will repaint the top areas of the flames. So let's say the top 40 areas of the flames, so just the flame spikes, you will paint them with this color. Because I try to achieve the thing that in the nature, like, the fire gets darker more as it's hotter and it's at the top, while it's more brighter towards the middle and the bottom. The second color for the flames will be Yriel Scarlet, and this will be done mostly on the top areas of the flame spikes. So just like the top, like 10 or 20% of these areas, or just do the little like edge highlight, but try to paint like very thick lines, so that you can actually see the difference between yellow, orange and red. And for the end of the flames, you pick up a black paint and just draw a little dots on the tops. Then I will wash everything with the heavy wash of Casandora Yellow. I'm not sure that this wash is still sold by Gang's Workshop. If you don't have it, you can use Griphound Orange contrast paint or Yriel Yellow contrast paint, and you will achieve a very similar effect. And to finalize the base, I will just dry brush the whole base with the ice yellow. Actually, in this moment, we don't want to spend too much time on this, and we don't want to paint too many details, so we don't want to draw a lot of attention from the whole model, so the Yuan Yuan and the motorcycle, towards this flame tray, but we still want it to look decent, so I will pick up a few details after I'm finished with dry brushing. I will repaint. There is 3 little presents there that are falling off motorcycle, so I just pick up some random colors and I paint them. I painted one green, one red, one blue. I mean, the paints are not really important which paints I used. The thing is, like, you only paint them like what colors you have and what colors you like actually, so just paint them a little different. And then I will use a soft tone as my wash, and after that wash is dry, I will just do a little highlight, nothing too special, just to make them a little highlighted so that you can see there is a difference in the details. And guys, before we continue, if you have time, please visit the Instagram and the tabletop page, where I usually put more photos of the stuff that I'm painting. Usually there is a lot of stuff that is not in the videos and that I just paint for fun. And then with that, this fire trail is done. So we can move on now to paint the presents. Since this video is already taking too long time, I will try to save as much time as I can on this, so I will just show you what was my idea behind painting this. So while I was painting these presents, I wanted to paint them in bunch of different colors, so just try to pick up some paints that you have and they're not in the similar tones, so just try to pick up some red, some green, some blue. And when I was painting these presents, I was trying to paint them separately, so just try to have a different color in between. Like if I have two red presents, I will try to sneak up a blue one in between, or try to sneak up green in between. And then all these little straps that they have, I will try to paint them in the different colors as well. So I will just go around, I will just try to change my colors as much as I can. And the most interesting thing here is this box of the Ram Racers. So is this like an official spoiler that we are getting the Ram Racers game soon? I don't know, guys, what do you think about it? Just let me know in the comments down below. So I will continue painting these presents. I will throw in some yellow paint, then I search my box there. I found like that I have some purple, that I have some pink, then I added a little white, and that's it. Like I just wanted to make it as much colorful as I could. So I mean, it's up to you. You don't need to use the same paints as I did and the same colors, but like just decorate it up to your liking and whatever you find it suitable and fun. For me, actually, this was like a super fun just to go around and just smack random colors without even thinking like what I'm painting and which way they should match the colors. I was just painting totally randomly. Try to paint all of them, don't leave any of those presents black. There is a couple of hidden ones under, so just look for them and then just give them some love. And we have here a part of the seat of the motorcycle, so I will use the same chocolate brown as I used to paint the latter parts on the Yuan Yuan. Same as before, one or two very thin coats will be enough. So just don't forget there is two little straps that are holding the beer barrel on the side. For the wash, I will mix up a soft tone with the Quickshade wash medium. I use the soft tone on the presents because I don't want them to be that dark and that desaturated as I did on the Yuan Yuan. And then I will do one very heavy wash around everything. So even the black parts that we didn't even touch, I'll just wash with this. And then I will leave this to dry properly. It usually takes like 20 minutes to half an hour, sometimes even longer, depends how deep the wash went and pull out into the recesses. So just be sure that everything is dry properly. If you're in a rush, you can use a blow dryer and just speed up the things. And then I will go back to my paints that I base painted these presents, and I will just try to pull back the colors to the original saturations, because after the wash they got a little darker, and then I will pick up a lighter color and start doing a little highlights. You can do this like with the one color, or you can do this with the matching colors. So if you want, you can paint like a present red, then highlight it with orange, then paint another present with green, and then highlight it with yellow, or you can just highlight everything with white. Now we will move to highlight the black parts. I will take a Basalt Grey, and I will go these iron bars and the keg, and I will do a little edge highlight. I will try to highlight most of the edges with the longer lines. And then for the final highlight, I will pick up white, and this will be used to do the edge highlight, but with the shorter lines and thinner lines that I did with the gray. So this will create like effects of non-metallic metal and some very nice reflections. Actually, to do these reflections, I was using the reflection from my lamp on the black surface, so it gives me some guidance what to follow and how to draw these little highlights. And that's it for these presents. We are moving slowly towards the end of this project, so we are only left with the motorcycle and the snow base. So without further ado, let's proceed and paint this amazing motorcycle. To start off, I will pick up Mephiston Red, and I will just repaint all the body parts of the motorcycle that I want them to be red. This is done in two very thin coats, and I try to avoid the recesses. I try to left them still black, but if you make a mistakes and you went inside with your red color, don't be afraid, it's very easy to fix it. Just pick up your primer color and just repaint it black. Same as in previous step, chocolate brown is going to be used for the leather seat, so just be careful not to go over the red part since we already painted that, and paint it in one very thin coat just to have a very decent coverage. Try to achieve the effects where you don't see any black under it. And I will use some white just to paint the inside of the headlights, just to prepare it for the future step when I'm going to paint it yellow, so it's going to be easier for me to paint over the white. And to add some shadows, I will use a usual mix of a dark tone and Quickshade wash medium, and I will wash the red parts. You don't need to wash the flat armor panels, you actually only want to wash recesses and the areas where the armor panels connecting. But if you're like me, sloppy, just wash everything, so I will repaint it anyway in the next step. As you can see, because I washed everything, my red become very desaturated because of the wash. So I will pick up Evil Sun Scarlet, and I will start repainting the armor panels on this motorcycle. But the thing is, I will repaint only the raised ones and the one that are visible straight to the light. The one that are under, I will still leave them in the previous color. And I'll be very careful when I'm painting like on the fuel tank, the recesses area, so I will try to leave everything in the shadows and try not to go inside. If needed, you will have to paint this in two very thin coats to get that red tone back to its original. Time to highlight. Same as before, I think you already noticed what is my recipe for highlighting the red. It's orange fire, and I will go and do the edge highlight. I will try to use the side of my brush whenever is it possible, so I will try to make like a little like 90 degree or 45 degree angle while using my side of the brush against the surface of the model and try to draw those little lines on the edges. I will try to highlight all of these sharp edges on the motorcycle, because this will really pull this motorcycle together and it will really make it stand out and show all the details. And the other thing that we need to do is to draw these little flames on the tank. So practice this couple of times on the piece of paper, and it's quite easy to do it because it's a really simple pattern. I don't think my art looks amazing, but I think like from a distance it is satisfying and it's decent. So I will go just over the same flames with the Averland Sunset and then with the Flash Gitz Yellow, just to give it like a little highlight. So each layer of yellow I apply, I will apply in a less area than I did it before. And while I'm still having those yellows on my brush, I will just repaint the headlights. So it will be 2 layers of yellow with 1 white dot in the middle, just to create like a reflection. For the seat, I will use a Skrag Brown and I will do a stippling on the side of the seat and on the tops, just create lines in different directions. I don't think this will be really visible because Yuan Yuan will sitting there, but I just like to have everything painted. Now it's the time to do the final and the most important highlight on the motorcycle. So to start off, I will use a Basalt Grey. And as you can see here, you can actually see the reflections from my lamp on the black surfaces on these little bars on the motorcycle. So I will just follow them with the Basalt Grey and try to highlight most of them. Wherever is possible, I will try to use the edge of my brush and do the edge highlighting. Where is not, I will use the tip of my brush, like on these little screws on the wheel. So try to be thorough and not to skip anything, because this will bring all the details on the motorcycle and it will really make them stand out. And when everything gets combined together, when we glue all the parts, it will look really great. For the final highlight, I will use white. I will follow the same thing that I did in the previous step, but this time I will cover less areas. So if I cover like the big line on the bar, now I will paint like maybe 1/3 of it on the most highest point where the light will hit that surface. You don't need to highlight the rubber parts of the tires because we will just slap a snow effect on it, so you won't actually see any highlights there because the snow will cover everything. But on everything else, try to be, as I said, as thorough as you can, because this is the final highlight and this will make this model really look good. So take your time, be patient and go around. And let's try to finish this model with a style. And the final thing that we need to do before we start assembling everything is to make the snow base. I will use the technical paint, the Stirland Battlemire. If you don't have this one, any like mud technical paint will do the job. So just spread it. You don't need actually to spread it very thick on the base, because I planned already to cover most of this base with the snow. But I will try to cover the whole area in a one, let's say something like a medium size of the thickness coat, and then I just put it outside to dry. A good 1 hour made this base like a really solid, right? Then I went with the Skrag Brown and I just randomly dry brush it brown, just to have like at least like one layer of highlight. So nothing really special, because we will now cover it with the snow. I used this Vallejo environment snow, which is, I have to say, really amazing. And then I was slopping it around the base just randomly, and try to cover all the areas where I didn't have a technical paint settled down, which are like very wet, and then the technical paint just shrinked in the middle. So I will try to cover all those areas and just keep slapping this snow all around. I as well use this snow to put it on the wheels on the motorcycle, on the sides, on the flames, on the base, a little on the Yuan Yuan legs. So all the areas under, you will try to put this. And that's it, guys. I combine everything and this model looks really amazing. I had so much fun on this project. It took me a few days to complete everything, but it was really fun and I enjoyed every single moment of it. And you guys, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content. And on the other hand, it will mean a lot to me. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the section down below and I will do my best to reply. So this is all for now. Stay safe, take care, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. See you guys, bye.